The world of Magic the Gathering got a little crazier today, with Wizards of the Coast announcing that going forwards they're going to be blocking access to online stories. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Welcome to a video talking about Wizards' upcoming story articles online and how they're going to start to block them in certain parts of the world. So this isn't like a universal blockade where they're creating the stories and then blocking everybody from having access to them. And it's also not one of those situations where access is being blocked because the particular rights can't be granted. You know how if you've got Netflix in Canada and you've got Netflix in America, you actually have access to different shows and things like that based on all these crazy international agreements. It has nothing to do with that. Actually, I want to lay some groundwork before we go into the article itself explaining so you'll understand what's going on. Because this basically, to me, is all a result of the Chandra and Nissa situation that kind of just exploded however many months ago. I can't remember exactly when the time frame was for this, but it would have been around the time of the War of the Spark, right? Because that's the novels where all this happened. So what you need to understand is, up until the time of War of the Spark, Chandra and Nissa had this kind of burgeoning will they, won't they dynamic where they were both like, they liked each other, but would they ever get together? You know, it's that sort of thing that we're accustomed to. It's a very standard sort of thing that you see in stories because it's relatable, understandable. We've been in those situations, a lot of us, where you have that tension with somebody or you see it from the outside and you're just like, oh, well, they get together. It makes for great tense kind of drama. Ooh, and they throw obstacles in and stuff like that. Like, that's fun. That's a good story, right? So, for the longest time, Wizards had Nissa and Chandra on this path. And then abruptly, and I do mean abruptly, with the War of the Spark novels, we had a situation where there was an about face, where all of a sudden, Chandra, instead of like having an eye towards Nissa, now all of a sudden, they're just going on about how Chandra's actually always been into like Gideon, or oh, she misses Gideon and all. Like, it was a very bizarre change that no groundwork was laid for, right? And people got up in arms. They were like, what is going on? Why did you do this? Now, the reason that was speculated on the change, we don't have any proof of why the change was made, but there's information that was provided. I believe even the author came out and said that that sort of storyline directive was given to him by the corporation. So the corporation essentially said, okay, we want you to change Chandra, no longer have this Nissa-Chandra dynamic, and have her go for Gideon. And this was, the reason that they did this most likely, again, can't prove it, but the reason they did this most likely was to gain access to additional markets, right? There are certain places in the world where having Chandra looking at Nissa that way isn't legal, right? So it sounds pretty crazy if you live in like North America or any of the other parts of the world where things feel like relatively normal. And then you just go, wait, there's places in the world where she can't like her and that's illegal? Oh, okay. So basically, do you guys remember when Star Wars, they had this scene that they put in the movie, but then they cut it out of the movie and shipped the movie off to China? That kind of situation, right? That's the same kind of thing that it appeared that Wizards of the Coast was doing, where they turned around and said, we can't market this and sell this in as many places if we don't make this character shift. But what we're seeing today is actually a reversal of that position, and it is in service to storytelling, which I'm a huge fan of. So let's go through this announcement. Hopefully now you have enough background information that you'll understand what we're going through here. So it starts out by saying, Magic Store and lore often inspire passionate conversations. Now this is absolutely true. I'm a massive fan of Magic lore, as evidenced by not only the videos I have on this channel talking about it, but I have a complete another channel dedicated right now to making Magic the Gathering lore, right? We have them coming out on a weekly basis, so come on by and check it out. So it definitely does inspire passion. And it continues, players take emotional journeys with characters, identify with ones they see in themselves, and in many cases, even grow up with them. That's what happened with me and Urza. All right, so having returned to web fiction, we wanted to discuss our philosophy around creating and sharing these characters and stories. Our creative philosophy for telling our stories is, in short, we will tell the stories we want to tell, featuring the characters and relationships that best serve the story. That, for me, is an absolutely fantastic statement, because that's all I ever wanted. I don't care about anything except for the story. I don't care if there's any kind of other things attached to it. All I want is a good story. If you tell me a good story, then I'm happy. If you tell me a bad story, oh, what the heck? Well, a little bit of fluff. The tiniest little fluff wisp flew up off of my shirt here and was drifting down to the point where I literally thought it was a little spider or something. I'm like, a little spider? Anyways, I've gotten distracted. Let me get back to what I was saying. I'm gonna read from the article again. We will tell the stories we want to tell, featuring the characters and relationships that best serve the story and our audience. Our focus will be crafting engaging and relatable stories. That's fantastic. These stories will have diverse cast of characters with varied experiences, challenges, and adventures. This is what I want to hear. Putting the story first is fantastic, because for the last couple of years, I really do feel like the story has taken the back seat. Not just with the example I gave earlier about what happened with Nisha and Chandra. I want to combine them into one character. Not only with them, but with a number of different scenarios, we've seen the story take the back seat, right? They stopped altogether releasing novels. The Theros story was supposed to come out in a novel, and instead we got a little summary. We got a little summary on the story overall, but that was it, right? That was the whole deal. I thought there was more fluff on my forehead, in case you wondered why I did what I just did there. Just going off on a side, because who cares? Like, whatever, man. I can do this. Look, I can just spend my time moving my arms around. Some people really hate when I do this, and it kind of makes me laugh. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? So, let's continue on with what the article says. We will not change these stories to accommodate local markets. One of the challenges of being a global community is that some regions prohibit subject matter we think is valuable to our storytelling. Unfortunately, this means that some of our content will not be available in those markets. While we do not agree with these laws, we are required to follow them. We must also consider the welfare of community members in impacted locations. This decision empowers us to freely weave stories reflective of our community values. I think, honestly, when it comes to storytelling, being free to tell the story you want to tell is very important. On the other hand, I mean, I know we're dealing with a corporation as well, so we're not going to get pure free kind of storytelling like you would get from authors that are independent, creating their own works. You know what I mean? Magic lore is never going to be on the level of Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn Chronicles or whatever, although we can get good magic lore when he's writing. If you like magic lore and you haven't checked out Children of the Nameless, which I believe is the name of the little mini story that Sanderson wrote about Davriel, oh, it's so good. It's so nice when you have a talented author writing magic lore. It feels great. But either way, I like the idea of them not having any restrictions on them. I don't like the fact that this does mean that certain people won't have access to, some of the content. That sucks. I feel for the people who aren't going to get to access those stories, but we do have workarounds, right? You will have people doing lore videos on them. I imagine over on Aether Hub, he will cover every instance of the story, right? And he's just off the top of my head. There's the potential that I might go ahead and cover some of that stuff too, now that I know it's going to be region locked away from people, because dude, it sucks that they're actually getting better about the lore right now. They stopped making the digital stories altogether. They scrapped that and were only going to do novels, and then they were looking at just scrapping the novels and seeing if they could get by without even giving us books or any real story, and just giving us little paragraphs for a couple of cards, and that was it. But now it seems like they're going back in the direction of leaning more into lore. So we're going to get weekly stories from Kaldheim, building on the lore of the plane. There might even be a book to go with it, although I don't know. I don't know when we're going to return to getting full-on novels. I hope that's coming as well, because the last one we got was for, Ikoria? And the Ikoria story didn't actually even match the cards. So there was a lot of dissonance between the cards and the story. So I don't know exactly what's going on internally at the company in terms of how they regard lore and what they're doing. But for me, the fact that they're just like, yo, we're going to be making these stories. We're going to do them weekly. We're putting them out. If you can't get them in certain places, whatever, we're not changing them. We're telling the story we want to tell. So hopefully the stories will turn out to be epic. I have no idea what level they're going to be at. But either way, I'm glad they're going to be taking a free hand with storytelling. Do whatever serves the story. That's the most important thing. Serve the story. Don't give us characters that have no depth to fit an agenda. Don't change characters to fit a different agenda or whatever. Just tell us good stories. That's all I want, is good stories. And speaking of good stories, oh man, the old school Urza storyline is amazing. And if you're a patron over on Fantasy Geographic, the newest video is out. But if you're not, tomorrow, the next lore video drops. So I'm going to put up the most recent lore video so you can get up to speed, go watch it. Magic lore is fantastic, especially old school lore. So thanks for coming by, everybody. If you like what I'm doing, like, comment, subscribe. It's all great for the channel. Love what I'm doing. Jump on my Patreon to support it. And other than that, thanks for coming by, my friends. I will see you all very soon.